Welcome to Plugged In Chatham-Kent. We're Economic Development, and we bring this podcast to you almost weekly. We missed last week. It was a long weekend, and so that happened.
It's no excuse.
No excuse. In case you didn't recognize that voice, which I'm sure many of you will have, that was Kim Cooper. Normally I go around the table, but this is a very special episode because we have the Kim Cooper here.
Guys. Hi, everyone.
As Anthony will say, it takes 4 people to replace you.
You doubt that?
No, it's true.
I doubt it too. I just say it.
Yeah. It's nice to say, right? Yeah. Nobody's irreplaceable.
Nobody's irreplaceable. Oh, look, your phone's going off.
Yeah.
I should have gone over that. The phone.
Honey, get the milk.
Anybody who's learning how to do a podcast, the first thing you do is you ask everybody in the room to turn off their phones. This is a teaching moment we're going through. So, was that really important?
No.
Okay, you're fine?
That's fine.
Okay. Just the president, right? Yeah. Prime Minister? Well, you're famous. You used to travel the world.
I used to.
You used to, yeah.
Well, no, you're probably going to travel more now.
Yeah, but I've done a lot of my traveling for 25 years. So, well, we'll do a bit of traveling, but
Yeah.
yeah.
How did you travel before they had planes? Did you have to take a canoe?
Okay, let's leave.
Titanic.
Titanic. Yeah.
How'd that work out? No. Glad you made it
stop
back.
before.
So what have you been doing in retirement? What's been going on?
It's an adjustment. Like any phase of life you go through, it's just an adjustment for my wife and I. So it really just feels like I'm just on vacation and kind of waiting to come back to work. But it's a mindset you have to work through. But I'm excited about what the future holds, and my wife and I are looking at a few different options and mission work and things like that. And I'm just trying to not delve into a lot of stuff right now, because I'm getting asked about some volunteer opportunities and that, but I just don't want to just jump in and get overly involved. So I'm just sitting back and talking about it, praying about it, and seeing what I should be doing.
Great.
So it's good. I'm enjoying it.
My big question for you, as the former ag guy, and you're still the ag guy. Would you say you're still the ag guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a garden?
No.
No.
I never grew, wasn't from a farm, didn't have, one of our old houses we had gardens I grew, but where we are now I don't. But
Don't have a garden.
Don't have a garden.
Huh.
But I like picking weeds. So I love picking weeds. So
I've got some gardens for you then.
Yeah.
So.
if I go to some of my kids' house, I'll be out picking weeds out of their grass or out of their garden.
Maybe that's your next business
It
venture.
could be, yeah.
Kim Cooper's
manual
weed
weed
picking
picker.
service.
Yeah. I love...
The weed whacker, Kim Cooper.
the wacky weed.
Wacky weed.
The wacky weed wicker.
There you go.
Wacky something.
Wacky weeder.
Speaking of weed, I wanted to ask, do you know the difference between hemp and marijuana?
Well, marijuana still has the THC
Okay.
chemical. Hemp doesn't.
Hemp doesn't, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing fields go up right now around Chatham-Kent.
Fields, yep.
Hemp.
Fields.
Yeah.
Hemp, yeah.
Yeah. So we grew hemp in Chatham-Kent. Jean-Marie Laprise and some of his partners grew some 20 years ago or so. It was a long time ago, but he had an agreement with a company out of California to grow hemp, and they were going to use it, for clothes and soaps and twine and other stuff. But they had a lot of problems shipping it because when you got to the border officials, a lot of the shipments didn't get to go through because they thought it was marijuana.
Gotcha.
And they had all the paperwork to prove it wasn't, but that was one of the, I think, caused the demise of the hemp industry back in Dover Township a number of years ago, which is too bad because it would have been good. But now it's kind of making a comeback. I see there's a few farmers around here growing some, and I know farmers across Ontario growing some hemp.
Do you know where it's going? Is it local? Is it still across the border?
I don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just know we discovered some fields right around my house, and walked out one day and went, "What is that smell?" And because it's not corn.
No, definitely not corn.
It smells a little different corn. So I don't know if you've stood around a hemp field recently, but
No, I haven't. But there are guys growing hemp, but there's also people growing marijuana,
yes,
like licensed.
Yeah.
And you can't have hemp near the marijuana fields, or else it'll do something to the marijuana that will cause it to be no good.
Oh,
So
really?
the marijuana growers are a little concerned that they don't want any hemp grown. I think it's within 5 kilometers.
Okay. So
That would
pollination.
cause some pollination
Yeah.
issues. So I'm not sure how that works. So we have that with the seed corn. Seed corn, you have to have isolation. So you start talking to your neighbors, and that's what I've advised these marijuana farmers to do. Talk to your neighbors and see if who's growing what, and make sure
Gotcha.
you're good.
We were talking to the fellows who are starting 7 Farms Down. I think that's the business name.
Yes.
And he was saying something along those lines of he's been talking to all the neighbors, and they're very early right now. But he was talking about that sort
That's
of
the
thing.
best way to do it, because they talked about putting in legislation to do that, and I said that just won't work. You can't. It's like telling farmers what to grow or not to grow, and that's never a good idea.
Well, and I would think that you need crop cycling too, right? Even
Yeah,
if it's
rotation.
That rotation.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you're keeping track of this. How are farms doing? I heard you on CBC just before you went off. Do you know how they're doing now? Are they
I
back on
think,
track?
I mean, I've been away for a week or so I haven't really caught up on how things are going. It looks good. I haven't heard how tomatoes are doing. Anybody heard how the yield or quality is? I meant to call one of my farmers today. So overall, I think it's good. The one thing that they don't want is an early frost. Because the crops got in so late, we need an extended growing season. So we don't need an early frost. But some of the fruit crops, like the peaches, are doing really well. The early apples are doing good. So I think those crops are good. I think the strawberries were decent. But yeah, as far as as far as corn and soybeans, I think the wheat was better than they had expected.
Oh, good.
So we just need a long growing season.
We I don't know if you stopped out to J&E Meats with that. Might have been Spencer who came out with us. They're I have a picture where the corn is about an inch high, 2 inches high, right? Maybe 3. It just poked through, and we were back out just the previous week, and I don't know, it must have been 5 feet.
It shot up. We had, and it's all about temperature, but rainfall. Like if you get rainfall at a certain time in the growing stage of any crop, it makes a huge difference. And we did get some good rains.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So we have a little before and after photo of their field, and then I realized that's not terribly exciting to post on the internet, so I didn't post that. For all the farm nerds out there, I thought it was pretty cool. So
now, there's obviously just in agriculture, there's always areas that are aren't doing as well. Like I know in South Kent, they got some of the field very, very, very late, and but they're not looking too bad right now. But if we have an early frost, that will not be a good picture. So we need a late frost this year.
you missed the big announcement this week. You weren't because you're retired now and you don't have to go to these things at fun hours in the morning. Out Dresden with Enbridge and the natural gas. But I think you knew about all this, right?
I knew that was coming, and I did see it online when I checked the paper. But that's a great announcement. That's could mean a lot more growth out in that area in terms of greenhouses and that. So that's something, just like any project, we've been working on that for 2 or 3 years now. And those things take a long time, especially when you go through regulatory, things like that. But that was good to see. That was a long time coming with working with Greg and with Hydro One and Union Gas, all those guys that.
It was impressive when I was there to see that they said they're at 90% completed putting the pipe in, and they were talking about how quick it's been running down the road.
Really?
I think it was Wayne Passmore who was talking about that and chatting about how well it's been going. So that's good to hear.
Wayne at what's their new name now? I forget.
Enbridge. Yes.
Sorry, Wayne. And working with Monty and the provincial government on that's been so he's been a big supporter of that. So it's great to see.
Gotcha. Did you hear perhaps the biggest news for some people in the room, which was about the tacos? Have you heard?
I saw that article. Whoever wrote that article, they did an amazing job.
I
it was
would
you.
say that they're bloody genius.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
I would say it.
You wrote the article, right?
Well, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that continue, and thank you the media for stepping up and continuing that, because the story needs to get out how vital agriculture is to Chatham-Kent.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
How long did you work in agriculture?
45 years or so.
45. Really?
45, yeah.
Huh? Because you keep saying that you were a city boy.
I was a city boy. Yeah, my mother grew up on a farm in Jennis Creek, but my dad was a computer programmer for International Harvester, lived in the city, visited my grandparents' farm when I was a kid, and picked a few cucumbers and tomatoes, but agriculture, farming was never on the radar until I was down in Windsor. After high school, I worked a year with the Department of Highways at that time, surveying the EC Row Expressway. You ever rode on the EC Row Expressway?
I sure have.
You can thank me for a safe road.
Well,
The
thank
nice
you.
curves.
Thank you.
Anyway, I got laid off, which was normal. And a gentleman from our church, Stuart Irving, called me, and he was the manager at MJ Smith. Some of the older farmers would remember that. It was a seed and fertilizer and grain company right where across from the downtown mall, right where that Bibles for Mission store is, which I think is called now the thrift store. I'm not sure, but that's where the elevators were. And so that's where I got my start. I started meeting some of the farmers, got to understand some of the idea of seed and fertilizer and chemicals, and then I went to Ridgetown. And actually, they put me through Ridgetown. They said, "We'll pay your way to Ridgetown if you come back and work for us." I said, "Hey, that sounds like a good idea." Yeah. Had nothing else to do. So,
Why not?
so I did that. But I got so enthralled with this. So I went to Ridgetown, those are two of my best years in terms of learning. Here's a city kid in this agriculture production course, which is for farmers. That's just farmers went there. So they were laughing at me because I was a city kid that knew nothing about farming. But because I didn't know anything, I just ate all that up. This is phenomenal. Ended up studying fifth in my class, got a few awards, and
If that is the 6 people that were in there? Or?
the 6 people, I stood fifth.
No, that was awesome. You weren't 6th.
Always a critic.
Sorry, buddy. Continue. This is a great story.
So I wanted to learn more. So I went to University of Guelph to the main campus. Started in my 3rd year, but unfortunately I got sick and had to come back home. So I was sick for about 7 years. So I never did finish my degree. One of my regrets in life, but that's okay.
There's still time.
Yeah, there's still time. I still could do it. Now that I'm a senior citizen, I think it's cheaper now.
There you go. Yeah.
So I came back and worked for MJ Smith, which became Field and Garden Center. And then I applied for a job at King Grain in Pancourt. And so I worked there for 10 years. That was a phenomenal team under Paul King, Paul Roth. And spent a year with Thompson's, and then spent 10 years with Interior Soybean Growers, 4 years with Southwest Ag Partners, and now almost 12 years with the municipality. So during my years with the soybean growers, obviously soybeans were my main focus. So I traveled to over 30 countries promoting and selling, Canadian soybeans. It was a phenomenal career. Just loved it.
Yeah.
Met hundreds of customers from around the world, met ambassadors, prime ministers, and not to toot my own horn, but just the opportunities are out there for any young person. And there are a lot of young people getting back in the agriculture sector, either with farming or in ag businesses. So there's a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, well, that's why I like to throw out the Jane E. Meats side of things, because young family, that's working on continuing that sort of tradition of the family farm and doing that sort of thing. So I think it's great.
And these days, people are, and I tell people, I said, you need to read your labels, where your food's coming from. Yeah. People are wanting to know where their food comes from, and that's that's why we're so successful in Japan with the food grade soybean market. So most of the soybeans we sold to Japan were for their tofu and miso and natto and soy milk. And they wanted to know where their soybeans came from. So we developed a system that tracked. So every customer over there knew the farmer that grew their soybeans. So we had customers from Japan that would come to Canada, and we would link them up with the actual farmer. They would go in the combine in the harvest time and see their soybeans being harvested. And that was a phenomenal driving point, a marketing thing of getting Canadian soybeans over in Japan.
That reminds me, if you get a chance, you should stop into the Mindful Market in Blenheim. I know it's not quite on your way home. You have to take a detour. But sitting in there and chatting with the owners, they'll walk in and say, okay, this freezer or this fridge, the cow was from this farm over here, 5 kilometers down the road, and it was awesome. They'll go through every single product in that store.
There was actually a TV on top
TV
with a video of the cow.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
in the freezer.
Yeah. I think you'd appreciate it. I think
the whole traceability aspect, and actually the Canadian soybean sector, which we were part of, was the first in Canada to come up with a traceability. I don't know, 20, 30 years ago. We worked very closely with the Canadian Grain Commission, excuse me, and so they used our template to work with other crops and using this traceability aspect. So that's pretty proud that our soybean sector is able to do that.
Change the world. Good job.
We grow for the world.
We grow for the world.
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
grow for the world.
That's very true. You got any questions for Coop before I jump into all the activities going on?
Well, I was going to ask what some of your biggest highlights were, but I think you've sort of done that. But
yeah, I mean, life itself is all about relationships, just like
Definitely.
our relationships here. The relationship I built over the years with our customers and clients and people, whether it's in Hong Kong or Japan or Iceland or South America, but it's that I love that. I love learning different cultures, learning the country's history. Because every country has a story, and it was just, it was an honor to be able to be part of that for so many years.
I'm going to take a second to brag for you because one of the things that struck me when I was working with you, I think one of your biggest accomplishments you talked about often was your kids and working and being a great partner with your wife and your family. I think that perhaps was one of your biggest one of your accomplishments that you were proud of. You talked about that all the time.
We always talk about what we do at work, but the big thing, the mainstay is our family. And I talked about my wife Jill, and we've been married 43 years. And if it wasn't for her, I actually wouldn't be here today because she's saved my life a couple times through illnesses and that. But she has stuck by me, and I'm always hardest. We're always hardest on the ones we love, and I'm hard on my wife. I know that, and we're learning to live together now that I'm retired. So it's an adjustment. We're working through it. I'm looking forward to it, and we have 4 kids: Andrea, Lindsay, Tim, and Darren, and proud of all of them. They've married great spouses and have 6 grandkids, and so we get to spend more time with them now. So yeah.
Can't wait to write your book about. Maybe you can call it. So she has to see my face every day.
That's a good title.
Something like that, right? Where it's the change because it used to be your family would go, okay, well he's going to go to work and leave us alone. A little bit of vice versa, I'm sure, but it's as you say.
It's more the vice, not the versa.
It's more the vice. Okay.
A working title, The T Factor.
The T Factor.
We won't elaborate on that, but I do have a question for you. So, you were so big in agriculture. You still are. I mean, we still continually hound you to answer questions and whatnot about agriculture, and that won't stop. I can promise you that until I get a restraining order against me. But my question would be, how do we continue to support, as a community and economic development, but more so as a community, how do we continue to support our agriculture sector, our farmers, all of that within Chatham-Kent? What would you recommend?
That's a good question. Yeah, and I guess before when I mentioned about relationships, I think that's vital for any, if you want to work with any group or person or organization, is to build those relationships with people. And it's taken me 45 years to build relationships with people, farmers, ag organizations, groups, and you just got to start getting out and meeting with farmers. It's no different than any other business. You find out who they are, what they're about, and what their needs are. How can we help? So as economic development, how can we, you get the old adage, the government says, we're here to help you, which, can be an oxymoron, but we really are. We're here to help the ag industry and every other sector in Chatham-Kent grow. So just meeting with them, getting to understand them, getting to know what their strengths are, where maybe we can help, where Chatham-Kent can, maybe fill that gap. One of my roles, I saw myself as a conduit, between, this person and this group or this group and the municipality, whatever it takes to fill that gap, to fill where there is a gap, just what can we do to fill that? So get out there, meet them, and see where we can help. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to take a quick minute to run through all of the events that are coming up because we're starting to run out of time here. I know you've got things to do as well. One of the things you actually, tying a little bit back to ag, but pulling out of that, you mentioned chemicals on the ag side of things. Anthony, you and I just had a great discussion with Betty Bright. And
yes.
Some things they're doing an event this Saturday, right?
Yes, grand reopening, if you will.
That's right.
Yes.
It was. This was really interesting. We were chatting with the owners. They have a new machine in there. There's lots of new machines, but there's one new machine that basically eliminates the need for. No, it doesn't basically. It eliminates the need for this dry cleaning fluid and a lot of the chemicals.
Oh, really?
They used to have 11 chemicals or something. Yeah. And he said, he was shown a test one day where somebody was spraying it on concrete, and they said, "You've got to." Hi everyone, I want to apologize. We had a technical glitch with our recording equipment, and we didn't get to say goodbye to Kim Cooper. We want to thank him definitely for coming in and giving us an update. It's been a month since we saw him here, and it was great to see him again and to see the ag guy. I want to touch on a few things just before we wrap up today. There's a couple of events, actually quite a few events. We're getting ready for Small Business Month in October, but before that happens, I want to touch on the fact that there's a climate change action plan meeting for draft terms of reference that is on Tuesday, the 10th, September 10th. It's over at the Civic Center. So if you can attend that meeting, if you're looking to have some input into the climate change action plan draft terms of reference, there's going to be many opportunities for input into this final action plan. This is just to review the draft terms of reference, but that's important as well. So if you have a chance, we'd love to have you out for that meeting. Details are on Eventbrite. They're on our Facebook page. If you look for economic development, you can sign up there. The next one I want to talk about is Manufacturing Appreciation Day on the 13th of September. If you're a manufacturer, if you're involved in manufacturing, if you supply manufacturers, we invite you out to a session that's being held from 11 till 1 o'clock. It's at the Bradley Center. Please, again, visit investck.ca in this case to sign up, to register. We need to know we're trying to work out some numbers, who'll be there. But if you are in manufacturing, please, we invite you out. We really, the day is from ourselves, from economic development, and from the mayor, Darren Caniff, to say thank you to everyone who is a supplier and works in manufacturing. You're doing amazing work, and we want to appreciate everything you do. So that's, as it said, September 13th. The next one is September 24th, Chatham-Kent second Women's Leadership Networking Night. It's the second event. The last one was at Sons of Kent. The first one was at Sons of Kent. The current one, we're moving to the Bradley Center, so we have more space because we sold out the first one, and that's amazing. We were the whole group of us that are working on this. We're just blown away. So, looking at registration right now, we have 123 people as of this recording registered. That's phenomenal, and we've just started promoting it. So I look forward to lots of people coming out. And we're opening this up a little further. I know it's called the Women's Leadership Networking Night, but certainly based on the response we had last one, it's called Women's and Friends. So if there's men who want to attend, if there's anyone who wants to attend this session, certainly it's open. Please come on out. Okay, so that's September 24th. Getting into October, there's a few things I want to touch on. We're doing a Selling on Etsy 2.0 event. It's called Everything You Need to Know in 2019. If you've been to past Etsy events, I think they've run for 2 or 3 years now. We have an expert who comes out and teaches them. There's been quite a few changes in the Etsy world, both with the service agreements with Etsy, the application, the tool, shipping. All kinds of things have changed in the past several months, actually. So it's for people who are new and looking to help establish a store, as well as for those who may already be seasoned sellers and want to come out and learn about the new things that are happening. It's certainly for both groups. It's not just an introductory. So that's important to reiterate. That is October 2nd. Again, investck.ca or find us on Facebook for these registrations. Sign up now. We've got quite a few people already registered for that event. The next one I want to talk about is the next day. So October 3rd, we are doing a League of Business Mentors of the Universe. The Mentors of the Universe event is, we've done two League of Business events so far. We had a speed dating, that was in Blenheim. We were in Wallaceburg just the other week with a trivia night that went really well. We had a lot of fun and broke people up, and they had a chance to network and meet people they wouldn't normally work with. And so the next one is League of Business Mentors of the Universe, and it's going to be October 3rd at Sons of Kent. We're pulling that together. Opportunities for mentors to connect with people who want to be mentored, or vice versa. So those are some big events coming up. There's lots more. investck.ca. Thank you again to Kim Cooper. Apologize for the technical glitch we had with recording, but we call it high quality content, low production value. So we do our best. All right. Thank you so much.